Okay, so we live in this world that's just constantly changing, right? New tech, new ideas popping up every single day. So, what do you do with ancient wisdom? How does a faith that's, thousands of years old stay relevant? We're going to dig into that exact tension. And you know what? The answer might be a lot simpler than you think. I mean, this is the big question, isn't it? When everything around us, our phones, our cars, how we even talk to each other, is so different, what are we supposed to do with rules from way back when? Is it just a simple choice, old versus new? Or is there maybe a smarter way to think about this whole thing? All right, let's make this super practical. So on one side, you've got the miswak. It's basically a natural twig that people have used to clean their teeth for like over 1,000 years. And on the other side, a shiny modern electric toothbrush. They couldn't look more different, right? But here's the thing. They do the exact same job. And that one little observation right there is the key to unlocking this entire conversation. And that key, that big idea, is all about seeing the difference between the goal, what we're actually trying to accomplish, and the tool, the thing we use to get it done. Honestly, getting this framework is absolutely crucial if you want to figure out how timeless values and modern life can actually work together. Okay, so first up, let's talk about the goal. In Islamic tradition, there's a term for this, al-maqasid. The best way to think about it is it's the why. It's the fixed, timeless objective behind a rule. What's the ultimate point of it all? This is the part that never changes. It's like our North Star. Then, on the other hand, you have the tool. The term for this is al-wasal. This is the how. It's the method, the actual thing you do to achieve that big goal, the maqasid. And listen, this is the really important part. The wasail, the tools, are meant to be flexible. They can change, and honestly, they should change with the times. They're supposed to adapt. All right, so we've got the theory down. Let's put this framework to the test with something everyone gets: purity, or just cleanliness. This is the perfect example to see how this all plays out in the real world. So let's go straight to the source material. Check this out. When the Prophet Muhammad is talking about the miswak, he doesn't just say, hey, use this stick. Notice the words he uses. He says it is a purification for the mouth. See that? The goal, purification, is baked right into the description of the tool. So that forces us to ask the really important question. Is the whole point to use that specific twig? Or is the point to achieve the goal he just mentioned, purifying your mouth? I mean, when you put it like that, the answer seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? The tool is there to serve the goal, not the other way around. And boom, here's the principle in action. The goal, the maqasid, is cleanliness. That's timeless. Back then, the tools, the wasail, were what they had: water, the miswak, even purified soil. But today, our tools are things like soap, modern detergents, and yeah, electric toothbrushes. Now, get this. The big idea here isn't just that these new tools are okay to use. The argument is that if they do the job better, if they make you cleaner, then using them is actually preferred. Okay, so this whole goal versus tool thing works great for physical stuff like brushing your teeth, but what about ideas? What about communication and knowledge? Well, it turns out this exact same principle applies there too. It's about how we're meant to share information and even how we're supposed to understand the world around us. You have to check out this verse from the Quran. It's really fascinating. It basically says that when God sent a messenger, he sent them speaking the language of their own people. Why? To make things clear for them. Think about that. The tool of communication, the language, the idioms, was picked specifically for that audience. The goal was clarity. The message was more important than the medium. Just let that sink in for a second. The message was timeless, but the method was timely. It's the exact same idea we saw with the miswak and the toothbrush, but this time it's being applied to the very act of divine communication. That's a pretty big deal. So you might think, okay, does this mean faith is against asking questions or scientific discovery? But it's actually the complete opposite. The Quran is just packed with verses telling people to travel, to observe, to use their hearts and minds to reason. So from this perspective, science isn't some kind of threat. It's actually a tool, a powerful modern tool that helps us answer an ancient call to understand the world. All right, so if this principle seems so straightforward, then why do we so often see the opposite? Rigidity, this resistance to any kind of change. Well, that's what happens when you get it backwards, when you forget the goal and start worshiping the tool. Yeah, this is where the logic gets completely flipped on its head. This is how you get rigidity. It's when people start confusing the tool with the actual goal. When the twig becomes more important than the cleanliness. It happens when you read things so literally that you miss the whole point, or when you just blindly copy-paste old solutions onto brand new problems. And what that does is it freezes everything in time and just kills the dynamic spirit that's supposed to be there. And look, don't think for a second this is some new, modern interpretation. This quote here is from Imam al-Shatibi. We're talking about a heavyweight scholar from the 1300s, and he laid it out perfectly. The whole point of Sharia, of divine law, is the well-being and welfare of the people. That's the ultimate goal, the maqasid. The rules and laws are just the tools to get us there. So where does that leave us, here and now? It leaves us with a pretty powerful way of looking at the world, actually. One that's deeply rooted in timeless principles, but is also completely open to using the best tools that today's world has to offer. So let's boil it all down. What's the main takeaway here? Really, it's a mindset. It's about always being able to tell the difference between the timeless why, the maqasid, and the adaptable how, the wasal. It's realizing that science and reason aren't enemies, they're just amazing tools to help us understand things better. At the end of the day, if wisdom is the goal, shouldn't we be using the best tools we can find to get there? And that brings us to the final thought, which is really a challenge for all of us. This idea isn't just some abstract theory, right? It's super practical. So think about it. In your own life, in your work, your community, where are you still clinging to an old, comfortable tool when there's a much better one sitting right there? A tool that could help you reach your most important timeless goals even faster. The question really isn't if we can adapt, it's are we willing to? Thanks for thinking through this with me.